1st, 2023 by sending written notice and electronic notice to the Courier News and the Breeze, posting on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building, and filing with the township clerk. If we could have roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Here.
Councilman Codilla?
Here.
Councilman Nogales?
Here.
Councilman Pedroso? President Ring?
Here. If we could all stand, Councilman Kirsch can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I saw we had minutes from the March 21st meeting. Any comments on those minutes?
I will move them.
We have a motion?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. I did not see, do we have closed going around? Okay, we will have closed going around as well from March 21st. All right, we'll start with town council reports. I will start with Councilman Kirsch.
Thank you, Mr. President. Few items over the last couple of weeks. I wanted to express compliment to our hardworking clerk's office. You're not even sure why. You don't even remember. So back on March 25th was the filing deadline. And ordinarily you might think, well, gee, there's no elections this year. Well, actually, there are 36 elections this year because one of the parties is doing a full slate of county committee. Over 70 petitions were issued or were returned, were filed, and those require careful consideration of each and every one by our clerk staff. So thank you for handling that. On March 26th, the zoning board met and heard, I believe, part 2 of likely 3, a self-storage facility on Route 22 near Vossler. And also Gary Lespiza has left that board. We have an item later in the agenda relating to his replacement. Gary served us for 4 years, served us with distinction for 4 years on the zoning board, was previously on the recreation board. On April 2nd, so earlier this week, the planning board met. Heard of an interesting case, construction of a barn at a property known as Hidden River Farms. It's a 35-acre site accessible to Meadow Road, which backs onto the north branch of the Raritan River. Also, the Ethicon site was discussed, and the need for redevelopment was acknowledged by the board. That was, again, step 2 of that 6-step process that we outlined last week. In addition, the master plan public session, which is coming up, I think Mr. Pappas will probably speak to that. Is that right, Mr. Pappas? All right, so I won't steal thunder, but there's an important event coming up on April 11th. And then last night, our volunteer appreciation event occurred. Particular thanks to our Office of Constituent Relations for managing that, all our volunteers who were there. Unfortunately, the weather kept some of the attendance away, but it was still a very nice event. On a somber note, I want to acknowledge, that while we typically speak only about matters within Bridgewater, we do live in a wider region, the New York metropolitan region. On March 25th, New York police officer Jonathan Diller, posthumously promoted to detective, was murdered. Certainly an affront to all of us who support law and order, all of us who support police, whether in this community or beyond. I think it reinforces the importance of keeping our law enforcement officers in our thoughts, in our prayers, and expressing appropriate appreciation each and every day. And then on a more uplifting note, next Monday, April 8th, we will experience a solar eclipse here in Bridgewater. It's my understanding that it will be at 91% magnitude. Back in 2017, by happenstance, I was in the Kansas City, Missouri area and experienced near 100% of that 2017 eclipse. I would be led to believe that the 91% will be substantial. It is certainly an event that binds us all. It'll certainly be something that if you are able to experience it by being outside, you'll remember where you were and who you were with. So hopefully everyone can get appropriate safety glasses to potentially witness the sun disappearing essentially behind the moon, and then the resulting at least partial darkness. Again, we're at that 91%. So be safe with that, and it's certainly a continent-wide event. So certainly something hopefully that would be uplifting for everybody, and that's my report.
Thank you. Councilman Cardilla.
Yeah, I'd just like to report that yesterday was the kickoff meeting for the Community Block Grant Committee that I'm on with Somerset County. And it appears that we will have the formal award meeting in the May timeframe with presentations for services, and that's always a very interesting day. I'd like to comment at this time on Volunteer Appreciation Day. Absolutely, I support and join the celebration of volunteers in Bridgewater Township. However, yesterday I was not able to attend the celebration, so to speak, because I was in Monmouth County working with the New Jersey State Firemen's Association for a field exam activity. But what makes me think about volunteer appreciation is this past weekend, I attended a funeral that might be considered a line of duty death for a volunteer fireman in a neighboring town. And what I thought was extremely appreciated by the family was the number of volunteer firemen who showed up from adjoining municipalities to support them in their time of loss. We take for granted that, oh, here comes a volunteer fire, here goes the guys from the firehouse, here goes the firemen. But it's not very often that a line of duty death comes along, and thank God it doesn't happen very often. But it is absolutely a possibility, and to me, it makes appreciation of volunteers more impressive and more mandatory than what it is. That's all that I have. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Councilman Norgales.
Thank you, Mr. President. I attended the monthly meeting of the Municipal Alliance. The organization has been rebranded by the state and is now called the Bridgewater Raritan Alliance for the Prevention of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. It's a longer title, but more descriptive of their mission. The organization is preparing a 5-year plan as required by the state of New Jersey, and they expect to receive some additional funding from the state opioid settlement. Allie Gust is a confidential secretary in the clerk's office. Allie's cousin, Elena Gust, attends Bridgewater Raritan High School. She was crowned the winner of the high school annual sing-off in support of the Kimberly A. Nelson Foundation, which in turn supports music and theater for Bridgewater High School students through grants and scholarships. Great job, Elena. Attended the volunteer recognition celebration set up by the administration to honor the dozens and dozens of volunteers who labor on behalf of the township on the various boards and commissions to continue to make this a great place to live. The recognition was held at the Senior Center, and the cost of the activity was completely covered by sponsors, including Colliers Engineering, Savo Schalk Law Firm, Phoenix Advisors, Oler and Breslin Attorneys, and CGAG Law Firm. The Courier News reported that a lithium battery was to blame for a fire, a Bridgewater apartment fire in Findern. While a lithium battery was indeed found at the scene of the fire, the scientific and insurance testing is still underway, according to the fire inspector, to determine positively that that was the cause of the fire. Evidently, the charger for the unit was not plugged in; it was on a different floor. At the last council meeting, it was reported that the $4 million check for the state government for federal government support for Camp Cromwell was in the mail. The delivery path for that check has been diverted through the Department of Transportation, and will probably take a few more weeks before it gets here, according to Congressman Kane's staff. Don't lose hope. We will get it. Happy post-Easter for our Christian friends who celebrated the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Our Muslim friends continue in their celebration of the holy month of Ramadan. The lighting of the crescent moon display at the Township Municipal Building courtyard, postponed from last month, has been tentatively, and I say tentatively, rescheduled for next week on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Ramadan actually closes on Wednesday, as far as I know. For those homes served by American Water Company, hydrant flushing will continue for a little while, and discolored water and even slight reduction of pressure might occur for a short period of time. Run the water, and the discoloration goes away. That is my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple items. I also attended the volunteer recognition night last night. I won't dwell on it since it has been mentioned, but I congratulate and thank the OCR staff for organizing that event. I know Councilman Kirsch did touch on the April 11th master plan update, and I know Mr. Pappas said he's going to speak to it, and I apologize if stealing part of that thunder. I just want to let the public know that a public notice will be going out for that event because there's the potential for a quorum of council members to be there, as well as a potential quorum for zoning board members and potential quorum for planning board members to all be there. There'll be a combined advertisement of a combined meeting, including Township Council. While that's going to be advertised as a meeting potentially of Township Council, it will not be a traditional meeting like this where we're voting on resolutions, giving reports, et cetera. The purpose of that is to gather feedback from the public on the master plan. So I just wanted the public to be aware of that. And that is my report, so I will turn it over to the administration.
Thank you, sir. Just to highlight the event mentioned for April the 11th, in this room and in the adjoining conference room, there will be a presentation of the various elements of the master plan that make up the master plan in its entirety. This effort began last summer under the direction of our former planner, Scarlett Doyle, and a number of people have served on an ad hoc basis, a group appointed by Mayor Mensch that included himself, Mr. Ring, members of the Zoning Board and Planning Board, and other staff to prepare a draft which has had numerous iterations, and that document will continue to be enhanced through the public input that we've received through an online questionnaire that was made available for public input the end of last calendar year, and through this workshop that will take place on April the 11th. For those individuals who are not able to attend the workshop on April the 11th, the online questionnaire that I mentioned a moment ago will be reopened, put back on the website for a few days, again, for those who cannot attend on the 11th. I believe that placing that on the website will be on the 12th of April. That is the next step in the planning process, or the master plan process. There will be, subsequent to that, a final draft prepared by our planner, and then at least one public hearing, official public hearing, that the planning board would then have on the document's final draft. Time frame for that will depend upon the amount of input that we get next Wednesday, so more will be reported later. That's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we do have a proclamation this evening, so I'm going to come down to the podium to do that. Janet, do you want to come on up? That's fine. Bring up everybody. We'll get pictures, yes. So I'm just going to warn you. Suzanne in the back will take the pictures. If she tells you to go right or left, just follow her instructions and everything goes very smoothly. Right? You learned that last night, didn't you? All right. So Janet is the president of the Bridgewater Women's Club. You want to start by just introducing everybody?
Oh, they don't want to be introduced? It's Mary Monahan.
Go.
Oh, okay.
Here, speak by the mic.
So we've got Mary Monahan. I know your last name. Barbara McNulty, Kathy DiDonato, Betty Dudak. We've got Pat Pavel and Kathy Jepson and Chris Phillips.
All
with
right,
us tonight.
thank you. So, the 2024 National Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation. Whereas children are the nation's most vulnerable members, as well as our nation's most vulnerable resources, helping to shape the future of Bridgewater. And whereas positive childhood experiences like loving caregivers and safe, stable, and nurturing relationships can help mitigate trauma and the negative impact of adverse childhood experiences to promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. And whereas children trauma can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects throughout an individual's lifetime and impact future generations of their family. And whereas children who live in families with access to concrete economic and social supports are less likely to experience abuse and neglect. And whereas prevention is possible because of the partnership created between families, advocates, child welfare professionals, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and local, state, and national governments. And whereas we recognize the need to prioritize kids and invest in more prevention initiatives like home visiting and family strengthening policies, economic support, and community-based child abuse prevention programs at the national, state, and local levels. And whereas CASA Shaw, which is the court-appointed special advocates of Somerset, Hunterdon, and Warren counties, work tirelessly to provide well-trained, trauma-informed volunteers to serve as advocates in court for children living in foster care, committed to ensuring that every child has a safe and permanent home. And whereas the Bridgewater Women's Club, an organization with a storied tradition of advocating for vulnerable populations, will be placing pinwheels in the municipal courtyard to raise awareness for National Child Abuse Prevention Month and the mission of CASA Shaw. Now, therefore, I, Matthew Mensch, on his behalf, alongside the Bridgewater Council, do hereby proclaim April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in the Township of Bridgewater and urge all citizens to recognize this month by learning about the work of CASA Shaw, volunteering with community-based abuse prevention programs, and building a narrative of home for children throughout our community. I believe the pinwheel placement was supposed to be earlier this week, and as we know, we've had too many days of straight rain. So the pinwheel placement is actually been rescheduled for 11 o'clock tomorrow here in our courtyard, and I understand the public is all welcome to attend.
All welcome.
So on behalf of the township, I present this to you.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. We appreciate it.
All right. You want, okay. Don't go anywhere. We got to do another picture.
Of course, it bears noting if there was a such. It bears noting if there was a such thing as a Bridgewater Men's Club, it certainly wouldn't have been as well organized as that. So, certainly wonderful that everyone followed instructions.
All right. At this point, we've come to the point of meeting open to the public. We have a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Meeting is now open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there's unusual circumstances. Well, just come on up. When you come up, you just need to state your name and address. If you don't feel comfortable stating it out loud, there's a sign-in sheet there that you can please print that information.
My name is Froso Andronikou. I live at 224 Foothill Road. And last January, I had an issue with the buffer zone. I reached out to the township. You actually came to my property because I did reach out to you.
Nice to meet you in person.
Yes, and I appreciate it. There's a lot of issues, and I have a lot of paperwork that is from the township, rules that the township has put in place, and no one in the township is doing anything about it. Everybody's bouncing the ball back and forth. I called the zoning officer. Oh, I can't come out. You have to call, and I have to talk to Wells. You have to call and talk to Wells. They cut down 9 of my trees. They redid the curbing. My yard is a pond. I have Canadian geese now in my backyard. It is a disaster, and I am very upset that the township has not done anything to enforce these rules. I have a copy here of a lot of the paperwork that I have that the township supposedly does not have, according to Wells. I brought a copy for the council tonight. I just don't know what to do, and maybe you can help me because I'm at my wit's end. It's 25 years that I've been at that property, and it is not my first time here. There's a buffer zone. Who maintains a buffer zone?
So I apologize, first of all, I wasn't aware you were still having issues. As you alluded to, I've come to your house and looked at this and tried to help. I don't know enough without looking at plans and stuff. What I would actually suggest, if you don't mind, since you have copies, we can give those to Mr. Pappas so that he can follow up with the appropriate folks within the township.
The only thing I didn't make a copy of is the original site plan.
Okay.
That came with the original resolution, and that's because it's kind of too big, and
Okay.
I'm going to take it to the printer, and I can email it to you. It's not, like now, they fixed the curbing, and the answer I get from Wells, who I've been obviously bounced back to, is, I have to send this to the attorney. Well, what paperwork are you sending to the attorney? Well, the paperwork you gave me. No, the paperwork he cherry-picked out of my pile of papers.
Okay.
So now it's 15 months later, they cut down 9 trees, I got 5. Meanwhile, they originally planted the trees on my neighbor's yard. They had to dig them up and bring them back. Now it's flooding so bad, the drainage, the grading has to be off because it's so much worse. I'm gonna get rats, I'm gonna get mosquitoes.
Okay.
I understand they're there 5 to 7. I'm there, that's where I go to relax. I don't go there, that's my home.
Understood. It's your backyard.
And this has to end. There needs to be a more permanent solution, and the township has to stand up and enforce their laws. The zoning officer should have come out when I called him, instead of passing the ball to somebody else.
All right. Mr. Pappas would be the one to get the zoning officer to come out. We as a council do not,
And I understand that, but
Have any
and I came
yeah.
here, I didn't even know if this is the right meeting I should be at.
it's
But
fine.
here I am.
We will make sure that someone follows up with you, but under the form of government we have in Bridgewater, the day-to-day operations, other than the clerk's office, we do not have any direct oversight of. That falls through the administration. So that's why I would escalate this to Mr. Pappas, and he can follow up accordingly. And he's the one, I can't tell the zoning officer to come out and look at your property.
No, I understand
But he can.
that. But when I call, he should come out.
He should, and I don't know the circumstances, but that's something that Mr. Pappas
No,
can
because
absolutely look
these
into.
are laws, and I'm confused because these are laws signed by current and previous employees of this town.
They wouldn't be laws. They would
Well,
be
there are
resolutions, documents, yes.
Regulations. You even have an ordinance that states that that there should be a buffer zone other than a fence between two properties with different usage. And even that ordinance in itself should be enough for me to get trees. In the original resolution, it says 222 trees. I also have a map that I'm going to give you. That map is from 2013 when Sandy took down trees. In that map alone, it says that 30 trees should be planted and 9 rhododendron. I have nothing of the sort. If I have 20 trees, I'm lucky.
Okay. I understand your concerns. Again, if you can get that.
I appreciate you hearing me out.
Yep.
We'll get the map and I'll.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other member of the public wishing to speak?
Good evening, Kathy Franco, and I'll write down my address. A couple of things. One is, I know that you'll be introducing as a resolution the redevelopment plan at 136 Foothill Road. My understanding is that is the town yard waste dump currently. It's valued at $7 million. The township paid $100 for it in 1999. If sold, how will the windfall money be used by the township? Will it be used as a one and done to lower costs? And will that then reduce our tax rate for a single year? Will it be done to pay off our debt? Or will it be done to provide improvements to the township? In addition, in the resolution, it talks about a preliminary investigation. But yet, we're already appointing a planner. A preliminary investigation is to be considered by the planning board. Yet, in the resolution, it's already appointing a planner. My question is, who is paying for this planner and what are the costs? Because that is not delineated in any way in the resolution. So is that going to be coming out of the taxpayers' dollars, our taxpayer dollars, if the sale doesn't go through, if the redevelopment doesn't go through, or is that something that potential redevelopers are going to be paying for? And finally, I noticed in the closed session, there is contract negotiations for 136 Foothill Road. So it seems like this train is on the tracks, and this train is moving forward. And maybe that's just my personal opinion, but I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it, and I'm hoping other members of the public will. As we move forward through the agenda, items B, C, D, E, and F are 5 resolutions for engineering services related to roads. These all went to Collar Engineering for a total of over $874,000 in this meeting agenda alone. I think that's important for residents of this township to look at the total number of dollars that are being appointed to any one vendor in this town, a vendor who also has the contract as the engineer for this township. And finally, on tonight's agenda, I just wanted to bring it to all of your attention that tonight's agenda is not on the township website as of 15 minutes ago when I just went back to it. The township meeting also was not announced on the township Facebook page. So I think this township council is lacking transparency, which I believe all of you ran on as far as making sure the public was aware, talking about making sure that you're not going to push development. There were a whole lot of promises that were made, and I don't feel that you're following up on those. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak?
Seeing no one come forward, moves to close the input.
We have a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Before we move on, I just want to clarify something. As you folks will hear when we go through the agenda tonight, Colliers Engineering is not receiving 5 engineering jobs. They're being awarded to different vendors. So as we read through these, you will hear the contractor's collars does have a portion of it, but certainly not $800,000 that was misquoted during our open session. So with that, we will move. We do not have any public hearings. We do not have any introduction of ordinances. We move to Resolution 12A, which is a resolution authorizing and directing the Planning Board of the Township of Bridgewater to undertake a preliminary investigation of Block 349, Lot 2, a portion of which contains municipal yard waste collection site, pursuant to the New Jersey Local Redevelopment and Housing Law, NJSA 40A:12A-1, etc., for classification as an area in need of redevelopment, and directing the township's redevelopment planner to prepare a study investigating whether Block 349, Lot 2, also known as 136 Foothill Road, constitutes an area in need of redevelopment. Mr. Pappas, did you want to comment?
This is simply a resolution, as was stated in the council president's reading of the title, that asks the planning board to conduct an investigation with the assistance of our redevelopment planner, Mr. Sullivan, who's been our redevelopment planner for a number of years. As has been stated before, the planning board will review his report, will conduct a public hearing, and then report back to this governing body with a recommendation either in favor or against. That is what's taking place if the council approves this resolution tonight.
Okay. Any comments?
If I may, Mr. President, part of our job as council is to make sure that we're making the best use of the resources of the township. Here we have a piece of property, I believe it's 18 acres. I'm sorry? Oh, 31, I beg your pardon, thank you. It's 31 acres, it's a large piece. It's back off Chimney Rock Road, and we need to do our best to understand if there is a future use, potentially a future sale. In response to Mrs. Franco, the planner is paid by us. It's not paid by anybody else. It's part of the township requirement if we move forward on any redevelopment. And we're going to use redevelopment as an... Well, no, we're not talking residential housings. If that's anybody's concern, please don't worry about that. But anyway, I totally and wholeheartedly support this as a mission of the township to fully understand a valuable piece of property. Thank you.
If I may, for either Mr. Pappas or Mr. Corsini, with a redevelopment like that, should this project move forward, a stipulation of redevelopment could be those project plan, us being reimbursed by someone that might wish to develop that for any of our associated costs. So if this is kind of one of those ones, if you do move forward, it might not cost you anything. If you don't move forward, you do have a project planner cost associated with it. Did I say that correctly? Very well said. Thank you, Mr. Corsini. Anyone else have a comment?
Yeah, I have a comment. I know we're talking about the block and lot and so forth, but the bottom line is this is also where the yard waste site is. And I would hope that as we move forward with an investigation on the property, is that consideration be given for part of it to remain as a yard waste site in some function for Bridgewater Township.
Agreed. I think it's also important to note that while it is currently used as the township yard waste site, there is a commercial element taking place on that property today by the operator of the yard waste site, who does charge fees to collect debris from landscapers as well as to sell product that might be produced or stored there.
Yeah. However it works out, I think there should be some yard waste functionality available to Bridgewater residents.
Anything else?
Yeah, Mr. President, at a high level, I think it bears mentioning that redevelopment is approximately a 6-step process. We discussed this last week in regards to the Ethicon property. This is step 1. Council adopting a resolution authorizing the planning board to undertake preliminary investigation. It will then go back to the planning board for its agreement to proceed, and then we go to step 3, Step 2 will then result in an investigation by our planner to confirm that it meets the requirements for being a redevelopment area, and then potentially steps 3 through 6. I stated at the council meeting last couple weeks ago, as well as at the planning board meeting earlier this week, that I know each of us in our own way are transparent and available. I will offer myself for this purpose, since I am both on the town council and on the planning board this year, my widely available and circulated email address, my widely available and circulated phone number. I am available to speak on this matter with any member of the Bridgewater community who is interested in understanding what's going on or has an opinion about this. So, again, I know each of us are go-to people, so to speak, but on this one, I am particularly willing to volunteer myself as the go-to person. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it's also important to note that, so this would, assuming this passes, this would go to the planning board, who then, if they were to pass it, it then goes to the planner to do that study. When that study comes back, the planning board would hold a public hearing when they receive that study for public input. There's multiple steps in the process. I know there was a question that was raised during the public comment about why we're saying hire a planner. The planning board does not have the statutory authority. They don't have a budget to operate within to hire a planner. So we are authorizing a planner to be hired, but that would require the planning board to agree to move forward in that step before that actually happens. So planner cannot do anything until the planning board meets and reviews this request from the council. And I think it's something, at 30-plus acres, there's a commercial element going on at the site. It's something worth looking at. There's no guarantee what comes out of it, but certainly will be opportunity for the public to be involved.
Mr. President, one final comment. I think it also bears noting that whether we're talking about the Ethicon property, whether we're talking about this property, whether we're talking about other properties, that ultimately the decision on what to do does rest with council. Representing the citizenry. And certainly if anybody's been paying attention to what's been happening in Bridgewater politics over the last 5 to 6 years, it would certainly be evident that there are certain uses that are going to be highly unlikely to be approved for any of these sites. And ultimately, we will choose something that's a solution that works very well for Bridgewater. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? If not,
Make a motion.
go ahead.
Make a motion to approve 12A, please.
I'll second 12A.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla? Yes. Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
President Ring?
Yes. All right. I'm going to take 12B through F on a consent, so I will read them. Starting with 12B is a project resolution for professional engineering, surveying, inspection services for the 2024 Section 1 roadway improvement project, which includes the entire length of Acorn Drive, Jamestown Road, Lilac Court, Yorkstown Road, Hollander Street, and Kim's Court to Morgan Engineering, LLC, Morgan Municipal Services, LLC, 130 Central Avenue, Island Heights, New Jersey, 08732, in an amount of $186,200, funded through the 2024 Capital Road Improvement Bond. 12C is a project resolution for professional engineering, surveying, inspection services for the 2024 Section 2 roadway improvement project, which includes the entire length of Andover Avenue, Berwick Drive, Marsh Street off North Avenue, Roanoke Road, Erin Court, Ethel Court, and Morehouse Court to Remington Vernick Engineers, 429 Route 79, Suite 21, Morganville, New Jersey, 07751, in the amount of $136,420, funded through the 2024 Capital Road Improvement Bond. 12D is a project resolution for professional engineering, surveying, and inspection services for the 2024 Section 3 roadway improvement project, which includes the entire length of Candlewick Lane, Love Road and Juniper Lane, Candlewick Lane to the end, to Remington and Vernick Engineers, 429 Route 79, Suite 21, Morganville, New Jersey, 07751, in the amount of $130,880, funded through the 2024 Capital Road Improvement Bond. 12E is a project resolution for professional engineering, surveying, and inspection services for the 2024 Section 4 roadway improvement project, which includes the entire length of Barber Drive, Catalpa Drive, Lakeview Drive, Long Road, Starview Way, and Stella Drive, routes 202, 206 to Starview Way, Bluestone Lane, Carnucci Drive, Turnberry Court, to Collier's Engineering and Design, DBA Mazer Consulting, 53 Frontage Road, Suite 110, Hampton, New Jersey, 08827, in the amount of $234,550, funded through the 2024 Capital Road Improvement Bond. And 12F is a project resolution for professional engineering, surveying, and inspection services for the 2024 Section 5 roadway improvement project, which includes the entire length of Lawton Road, Lawton Place, Somerset Avenue, Birch Hill Drive, Bittersweet Terrace, Mountaintop Road, Crim Road to Rose Court, and the Bridgewater Township Senior Center parking lot to Collier's Engineering and Design, DBA Mazer Consulting, 53 Frontage Road, Suite 110, Hampton, New Jersey, 08827, in the amount of $198,850, funded through the 2024 Capital Road Improvement Bond. This is the first step in our road project for this year. I don't know if we need to have any further comments, but if anyone has any, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve on a consent agenda 12B, C, D, E, and F.
Second motion.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
President Ring.
Yes. All right, 12G, appointment to the Board of Adjustment, regular members and alternates. John Gajewski, regular member. Jeffrey Seacat, alternate number 1. John Kulak, alternate number 2. Claudio Vesio, alternate 3. Chris Gabbett, alternate number 4. As Councilman Kirsch mentioned during his report, we did have an opening. This is moving the members up in the order, so to speak, and filling the last spot with Chris Gabbett. All the other members are already existing members. Any further comments or discussion?
Simply acknowledge that Chris Gabbett's in the audience, so certainly
Yes.
A dedicated member even before being appointed.
I'll move 12G.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
President Ring.
Yes. All right, so that concludes our regular agenda. We do have a resolution for a closed session. Be it resolved by the Bridgewater Township Council that this body will now hold a closed meeting to discuss contract negotiations and litigations. Contract negotiations, 136 Foothill Road property, litigation DPW. When and if the matters discussed become public record, this will be made known to the public at that time. The public is excluded from said meeting, and further notice therefore is dispensed to all in accordance with Section 8 and 4A of the Open Public Meetings Act. So before we ask everyone to leave, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to move into closed session for those items.
Okay?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Or does that need a roll call?
Aye.
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 All aye? Okay, opposed? All right. At that point, I will say goodnight to the members of the public and thank you for coming.
She's our Oz, only less menacing.
Unless it's taking a picture.
That's true. She's quite menacing in that circumstance. You're on, Council President.
Ron?
She gave me the thumbs
All
up.
right, so we have concluded our, Councilman, we're back. We have concluded our closed session and have no further business to conduct this evening, so I will turn to Councilman Norgalis for his departing words.
I would like to motion to adjourn this august body.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Never.
All right. We have concluded our meeting. Thank you very much.